Hey all, Ron here from Military Images Magazine with a new episode of Life on the Civil War Research Trail. You students of the Civil War are no doubt familiar with the reaction of William Tecumseh Sherman to the news that South Carolina has seceded from the Union following the election of Abraham Lincoln as President of the United States. At the time, Sherman served as superintendent of the Louisiana State Seminary of Learning and Military Academy, now Louisiana State University, a position he had occupied since 1859. Sherman's comments surfaced in an 1896 letter by David French Boyd, life dates 1834 to 1899, a professor under Sherman who hailed from Virginia and went on to serve in the Confederate Army as an officer in the Ninth Louisiana Infantry and the Confederate Engineer Corps. A longer version of Boyd's letter appeared in Confederate Veteran magazine. It was in 1910. This version provides much more context about Sherman the man, how much he enjoyed his life in and the people of Louisiana, and how well his Southern comrades respected him, despite the views he held that contrasted with their own. I want to share relevant passages from Boyd's letter to give you a sense of Sherman the man, Sherman the friend, and Sherman's reaction to the secession of South Carolina. Boyd begins. It was my good fortune to be professor under him for nearly 2 years at the Louisiana Military Academy, from its organization in 1859 to the breaking out of the war. Sherman was its first superintendent, organized it and started it, and I was his professor of ancient languages. The war was then brewing. Sherman was from Ohio and an old time Whig. I was a Virginian and a Calhoun Democrat. We both watched the political discussions and events very closely, and being rather secluded in the pine woods and entertaining high mutual respect, we saw much of each other, not only officially, but personally, and discussed freely all the absorbing topics of the day. To me, it was certainly a treat to listen to his clean cut and original views on nearly every subject that came up. And young as I was, intimate association with so strong and fertile a mind, along with his sterling honesty and warm heart, was a rare benefit then and a pleasing memory now. When the world knew but little of him, I looked up to Sherman as a singularly gifted man, his mind so strong, bright, clear, original, and quick as to stamp him a genius, and his heart, under his stern, brusque, soldierly exterior, the warmest and tenderest. Of a happy nature himself, he strove to make all around him happy, and his integrity and scorn for a mean act were as firm as the rock. Such was Sherman as I knew him most intimately for 2 years in the pine woods of Louisiana before he became a great figure in American history. I respected and loved him then as I did ever after, though I became a Southern soldier, and I revere his memory now. And as I believe he was the ablest and best college president I ever knew, so do I believe that he was the master grand strategist of our Civil War. The threatening of secession and war disturbed and pained him more, I really think, than anyone I knew. Perhaps General Robert E. Lee felt it as keenly. His views and Sherman's about the relation of the states are identical. History tells the struggle it gave Lee to leave the Union. He went into the Southern Army only for the sake of his family, his blood. Had Virginia not seceded, Lee would have commanded the Union Army, and what a thrashing Jeff Davis would have got. But General Sherman's moral courage, his free, outspoken thought, commanded the respect of the people of Louisiana. Besides, he was so efficient as chief of the state military academy and so universally popular that there was no feeling against him on account of his political views. Only a general regret that so good and true a man differed from us. Besides his sterling character and remarkable social qualities, Sherman was a fine organizer and a splendid executive officer. He could organize and run successfully any enterprise, school included, from a sawmill up to an army of 100,000 men. Naturally alert and observing his own military training and experience, had exercised and fixed as the second nature habits of order, precision, promptness, and punctuality. These he impressed on his military academy. Under him, it was running beautifully in all its departments. The people of Louisiana recognized it, hence their anxious wish that Sherman remain at the head of the school. One saw in him two men and an unhappy man. Sherman studied the amusements and recreations of his charge, fond himself of young society and dancing. He gave the cadets frequent hops, the planters and their pretty daughters coming in swarms. They soon got to be as fond of Sherman as his cadets were. They delighted to have him at their homes on the river and bayous, and many an evening did he spend with them, usually accompanied by his handsome young commandant, Major Frank Smith, killed in Lee's army the night before the surrender at Appomattox, and his accomplished surgeon, Dr. Powhatan Clark, now living in Baltimore, while I, not so much of a ladies' man, remained behind to run the school. During the vacation of 1860, I remained at the school attending to his duties for him. It was a pleasant and instructive period for me, for I was in almost daily correspondence with him for 3 months. In his leisurely hours at Lancaster, Ohio, he wrote about any and everything that he thought would be of interest to me, as well, of course, as to give me general directions about the business. In one letter, he spoke of attending the fair at Cincinnati and of taking more interest in the pigs and pumpkins than in the Prince of Wales, who was also on exhibition. And as the exciting presidential canvass was then going on, he touched much on it. These letters have been preserved. They are but so many vouchers of his forethought, his steadfast and unshaken loyalty to the Union, his horror of disunion. The war cloud was then threatening, his love for his whole country, and especially, I might say, his love for the South and his many friends there. He returned in the fall and began a new and more prosperous session than the year before. All was going well at the Academy, despite the presidential election and the great excitement throughout the South. But an end had to come to Sherman's career in Louisiana, to all his efficiency at the military academy, and to all the good time, directly and indirectly, which his 9 social qualities and his brilliant, instructive conversation gave us. The secession of Louisiana was fast upon us. The question of leading men of Louisiana was to keep him there at the head of the school, his opposition to secession notwithstanding. Bragg, Beauregard, who had 2 sons with us, Dick Taylor, Governor Thomas O. Moore, and others of influence were warm personal friends of Sherman. They wrote him and begged him to stay in Louisiana. I saw the letters at the time telling him that his opinions were well known, that he would not be asked or expected to take up arms for the South, that no one would molest him, that all wanted him to remain in Louisiana at the head of the school, which he had inaugurated so auspiciously and was conducting so successfully. But he did go, resigning an office with a salary of $4,500 a year and house free of rent, to return north a poor man with nothing assured for the support of his family. This was Sherman's first sacrifice for the Union. Was there another man in all this broad land who, under such circumstances, would have made such a sacrifice? It was a man true to the cause first, last, and all the time, and under circumstances that would have driven the ordinary strong man from it. Sherman was true to the Union. I happened to be with him in his private room when his mail came telling us of the actual passage of the Ordinance of Secession of South Carolina. Sherman burst out crying and began, in his nervous way, pacing the floor and deprecating the step which he feared might bring destruction on the whole country. For an hour or more, this went on. Every now and then he would stop and, addressing himself to me, exclaim, as if brokenhearted, you people of the South believe there can be peaceable secession. If you will have it, the North must fight you for its own preservation. Yes, South Carolina has, by this act of secession, precipitated war. Other Southern states will follow through sympathy. This country will be drenched in blood. God only knows how it will all end. Perhaps the liberties of the whole country, of every section, and of every man will be destroyed. And yet, you know that within the Union, no man's liberty or property, and all the South is endangered. Then why should any Southern state leave the Union? Oh, it is all folly, madness, a crime against civilization. You are driving me and hundreds of others out of the South who have cast our fortunes here, love your people, and want to stay. I have more personal friends in South Carolina and am better known there than I am in Ohio. Yet I must give up all and go away. And if war comes, as I fear it surely will, I must fight your people whom I best love. You speak so lightly of war. You don't know what you are talking about. War is a terrible thing. I know you're a brave fighting people, but for every day of actual fighting, there are months of marching, exposure, and suffering. At best, war is a frightful loss of life and property, and worse still is the demoralization of the people. And our now free and prosperous country is to be plunged into such horrors. And for what? No real cause whatever. You mistake too the people of the North. They are a peaceable people, but an earnest people, and will fight too. And they are not going to let this country be destroyed without a mighty effort to save it. Besides, where are your men and appliances of war to contend against them? The northern people not only greatly outnumber the whites at the south, but they are a mechanical people with manufactures of every kind, while you are only agriculturists, a sparse population covering a large territory. And in all history, no nation of mere agriculturists ever made successful war against a nation of mechanics. Besides, the great preponderance in numbers, the almost unlimited advantages over you and mechanical appliances, the North can make anything it needs. You can make scarcely anything you need. You can't make a steam engine, locomotive, or railway bar. Hardly a yard of cloth or pair of shoes can you make. And you are rushing into war with one of the most powerful, ingeniously mechanical, and determined people on the earth right at your doors. You're bound to fail. Only in your spirit and determination are you prepared for war. And all else are you totally unprepared with a bad cause to start with. At first, you will make headway, but as your limited resources begin to fail and shut out from the markets of Europe by blockades, as you will be, your cause will begin to wane. The North is many times more powerful than you are. And if your people would but stop to think, they must see that in the end, you will surely fail. But as I have said, in forcing you back into the Union, the war necessary to do this may enlarge the liberties of all. And I have no heart to think of this dreadful calamity that threatens us. Oh, it is all wrong. Often during the war, for I was in the Southern Army, did the force of Sherman's words, "Where are your men and material of war?" come home to me. I never saw our poor Southern boys, half naked and half starved, standing in battle 1 to 4 and 5, nor rode on a rickety train behind a broken down engine, but I thought of him. Yes, truly was war a mechanical art as well as a fighting art. And the cadets, how they loved him. The morning he left us at the academy, he had his battalion formed. Stepping out in front of them, he made them a short, feeling talk, and then, passing along the line right to left, bade each and every officer and man, not a dry eye among them, an affectionate farewell. Then, approaching our sad group of professors, he silently shook our hands, attempted to speak, broke down, and with tears trickling down his cheeks, with another effort, he could only lay his hands on his heart and say, "You are all here." Then, turning quickly on his heel, he left us to be ever in our hearts. Thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next episode of Life on the Civil War Research Trail.